from Niagara Falls. Today I'm exploring Niagara Falls on the Canadian side, and we're going to go for a boat tour into the mist, like this boat here, and then we're just going to have a wander around and have a look at the falls.
Good morning from Toronto, and this is where we're going to start our adventure today. Niagara Falls is on the border of the US and Canada between Buffalo in New York State and Toronto in Ontario province. I got picked up this morning from Toronto city centre, and we first stopped at the Whirlpool Aerocar before we did a maple syrup tasting at the Maple Leaf, like a mall. I did an all-day tour from Toronto, and all of this, as well as the other things I did today, was included in the tour price. So this is going to be your first view of Niagara Falls when you drive from Toronto. It has a little bit of a theme park vibe. It's very popular with both American and Canadian tourists. I think I might have been the only international person on my tour. Rainbow Bridge is the bridge that connects Ontario with New York. If you are going to cross that bridge, you are going to have your papers checked, and you are going to have to provide your passport and whatever visa you need for either country.
So this is Horseshoe Falls, which is on the Canadian side, and this is American Falls, which is on the American side. And the Canadian side is a bit more interesting than the American side. There's like shops and restaurants and stuff. And the American side's there's a bit less to do maybe. I'll show you where you can get to the viewing point on the American side.
So down here there is a viewing point where you can see the American Falls. But if you want to see the falls really up close, you can take one of these boat tours. So this green boat is, I think, the Made in the Mist, and the people with the blue jackets are the Americans. And in this, you can see the people with the red coats, the boat coming out of the mist, they're the Canadians. So it's basically the same thing, you just have different coloured jackets. So, as I mentioned, Niagara Falls is on the border of Canada and the United States. There are 3 waterfalls here: American Falls, which is so named because it's on the American side, and Bridal Veil Falls, and Horseshoe Falls, which straddles the border between Canada and the United States. Bridal Veil Falls is the slightly smaller waterfall, which is only just separated from American Falls by Luna Island. The best views of the falls are from the Canadian side. The falls were formed by the Niagara River, which drains Lake Erie, I hope I pronounced that right, into Lake Ontario. The Horseshoe Falls is the strongest waterfall in the whole of North America, and it has a vertical drop of 57 metres. I'm going to take a tour on the Canadian version of the Made in the Mist. It's actually called something less catchy, like Hornblower Cruises on the Canadian side. It's basically the same thing, but one goes from the US side and one from the Canadian side, and you know, they're quite democratic about it. One boat goes out from one side and then one from the other side, and they kind of alternate and take it in turns, so it's all very fair.
From Niagara Falls. Today I am on a cruise and I'm going in the Made in the Mist under Niagara Falls, which is just behind me.
So the boat goes right into the waterfall mist of Horseshoe Falls, and as you'll see from this video, you will get very, very wet if you stand on the top deck of the boat, which I did. They do provide you with free ponchos which you can put over your clothes. You will need to wear this because you are going to get very wet unless you decide to stay inside the boat, which I wouldn't recommend because you'll totally miss out on the views. So the price of this cruise varies actually a little bit between the US and the Canadian side. I found that a little bit surprising because I expected them to be the same. The price difference isn't a lot. The Hornblower cruise on the Canadian side is 48 Canadian dollars and the US tour is 41 Canadian dollars. It's about 7 Canadian dollars difference, which works out to like less than £5. So I don't think it's worth crossing the border for £5. So the translated price for that is approximately 20 to 25 UK, depending on whether you go in the Made in the Mist or the Hornblower cruise. That's the kind of price you're looking at, which I think is really reasonable actually to go on a boat and go in the mist. It's about half an hour, the total time of the cruise. I didn't actually pay this price because, as I mentioned, I got on a tour from Toronto where I was picked up and dropped off in the centre of Toronto, and the price that I paid for that included the Hornblower cruise, but crucially not the Behind the Falls, which I'll talk about later. The cost of that tour with the pickups was £103 in total. So this view here is going to show you exactly how fierce these falls are. So I'm behind the falls right now and you can just see the force of the falls coming down off the concrete here. So they are very, very powerful. There are a couple of viewpoints behind the falls. The first one is this one up top here. This is not the best view, as you will see. This is the view behind the falls going up the Niagara. It's very misty down here. It's quite misty on the camera. You can see that we are right down by Horseshoe Falls. It's pretty wet down here. If you follow me down the stairs, you will get to the most powerful view of Horseshoe Falls right at the bottom here. They gave us a fancy concert to put on. Hey, I'm gonna have to voice over this because it's so loud, but this is one of the best viewpoints of Horseshoe Falls. You are literally right up close to the falls, but it's really, really loud because of the force of the falls. It's a pretty powerful waterfall. behind the falls cost me an additional 28 Canadian dollars, which is approximately £20. But honestly, I didn't mind. I'm only going to do this tour once. I don't suppose I'll ever come back, so I was perfectly happy to pay that price. The weather has turned a little bit. It's pretty rainy and grim right now. Everyone has gone inside. But yeah, no, I'm up at Table Rock. I just did walk behind the falls, and now I'm going to walk back and see if I can not get completely drenched. The falls are 17 miles from Buffalo in New York State and 43 miles from Toronto, hence you can get a tour from either of those places. You do not want to drive from New York City because it's approximately 400 miles and would take you 7 hours, so I would not recommend that. Goodbye from Niagara Falls.